the division they're in, as talented a quarterback division as there is. They're gifted with good offensive linemen.
That's not a TV camera.
You just get a chance. Run the football, play action. They got a chance with that quarterback.
That phone call that we just saw is very important, guys, because everybody will make that call to the draft prospect that they intend to draft. Are you okay? Are you ready, willing, and able to do this? You want to make sure that he's all in one piece and he's excited and everybody's excited because it's very good. Commish coming up.
When has a prospect ever said, Coach, I don't know if I'm up for this? There has been guys who've said, I'm injured. I've got someone on the other line. Can you hold on one moment? No, it looks to be Cam Newton. And the commissioner is soon to come out on the stage. If you have not been watching for the last hour, the commissioner was on the stage moments ago to introduce all of the draftees. And as Marv Albert would say here in New York, heard it from the crowd. We shall see in a moment as the commissioner comes out on the stage to officially place the Carolina Panthers on the clock, even though they have already made their pick. Here's Commissioner again.
I got you. Okay, football fans. Welcome to the 2011 NFL Draft. Let's get back to some football. Yeah, there you go. The 2011 NFL Draft is officially open. The Carolina Panthers are on the clock.
We love football. Cascading down from every section of Radio City Music Hall. And the pick is in. It is being brandished by some walkie-talkie individual. And it's also being sent to the Panthers table so they can present the folks there in that draft room know that Cam Newton essentially has been taken off the clock. You're looking at the Panthers draft party. This is a big-time personality and big-time winner coming their way. The question is, will he be a big-time success at the next level? And it's going to be all on that young man's shoulders. But this is what we all are watching drafts for. Dreams coming true. And this is coming true for Cam Newton.
I like his choice in neckwear.
Here comes the commissioner. The Panthers didn't waste any time.
With the first pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Cam Newton.
Efficiency, they were last. So, rush offense. I think we are. I think we are. You're doing good. All right. How you doing, man? All right. Okay. How you doing? First of all, let's get your full name on here. Gary Edwards. All right. Howard. Reaction to the pick.
My reaction is that we are in a small market. We're going to pack a big punt. We got the best quarterback in the draft, and we're going out to prove it every week.
On the strength of this draft is
I know we're going to do it this year.
Get yourself the best edge rusher in this draft.
We normally don't take a lot of time, but we knew we were going to take, and we called Cam a couple minutes before 8 o'clock, and we talked to him and picked him.
What did you know on how?
Well, I think I think we have liked Cam for a lot of this process, and we've done a lot of research on him. Myself, Ron, our coaches, our scouts. He has special qualities, and I think you always feel like you've never done enough research when you're in this spot. So, we took it up till the time we had to pick. But I would say that we've had a strong feeling for some time that he was the person who we felt could come in and have the most impact on our football team.
Ron, a lot of questions about the character. What convinced you that he's prepared to handle this role with your franchise?
Well, I think there were several things that we had to investigate and look at and talk about and try and get a feel. And there were numerous people we talked to. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of phone calls, a lot of visits. Getting airplanes, flying to see people. I mean, we did a lot of research, a lot of background. Everything that we could gather information on. And the thing that stood out, and I find kind of impressive too, is he had the situation at one point that could have really torn him down, and if anything you could say, he rose above it, became a champion on the junior college level, became a champion on the NCAA Division I level, and won the Heisman Trophy. So, in spite of all the distractions, all the turmoil, the young man rose above it, and it spoke very highly, I think, of his character, being able to learn and grow from his situation, and become the player and person that he is right now. I mean, this was not done lightly. I mean, there was a lot of work done by our coaches, our scouts, Don Gregory, Marty, myself. We really dug into it and trying to make sure we understood this. The thing I think everybody's got to understand too is he's not drafted to be a franchise savior. I mean, he's drafted to be part of what we do and how we do it. If this football team is going to win a championship, we're going to get back to running the football the way this team did and this team can. The offensive line's got to carry its load. The running backs have got to get back to the way they played before. Our receivers have got to grow up. We're going to play better by tight end by committee. We're going to do some things special on special teams, and the defense has got to get better. When football games, that's what we have to do.
Ryan, you talked the other day about the need to maybe bring in a young quarterback and bring him along slowly. How long do you think how long would you like him to sit and learn and watch?
Well, I think the key is it gets back to us as a team. I mean, if the offensive line, like I said, carries a load that's capable of, gets back, it's healthy, solidifies itself, the running backs are in place. I think it's his learning curve, his opportunity to be ready will be a lot sooner. I mean, it's not necessarily just about the one guy. And I'm trying to make sure we all understand that this is about a team effort. He's part of what we're trying to accomplish, and he most certainly will be given an opportunity, as will all of our players, to compete, play, and contribute to what we want to do, and that's win a championship and win several.
Marty, on the issue of the character concerns, were there a couple questions that you really specifically wanted answers to? And what convinced you as you did your research that this all checked out?
Well, I think number one, the people, and as Ron said, we talked to a lot of people around him, and there were everybody you talked to. That there were a lot of stories that you heard that when you went and you really checked them out, you came away feeling very good about Cam Newton as a person. I think that the time we spent with him, we spent time with his family. All the people that you talked to, especially his tape, the people at Lynn, the people at Auburn, everybody had positive things to say about him. The time you spend with him, you come away, he's a very genuine kid. He's a very genuine, driven kid who has very high goals. And I think that again, all the time you spend with him, you come away with a very good feeling. The people you talk to about him, have a lot of very good things to say about him off the field. How he loves to work with kids. How he loves to, he would volunteer to work at to go to elementary schools and spend times with the kids there. And And then they talk about him as a player and in the locker room, and they tell you countless stories of leadership and how he really just has a charismatic.
Talk to people or Urban Meyer or anybody in Florida.
We obviously investigated the stories in Florida, and you know, again, came away thinking that, and Cam will be the first one to admit that he made some mistakes there. But again, as Ron said, the way he responded, the way he came back, and what he did both on and off the field with Lynn and Alderman, I think was very impressive.
Ron, I got two questions. I'll follow up after you answer. But was he the most researched player you guys brought in?
I can tell you the most research player I've ever been around. We did do a lot of work, and it was, the hardest thing, and to be honest with you folks, the hardest thing was every time you turn around, somebody would call you with something or send you an email about something. Now you got to go out and do research, you got to make phone calls. It got to the point where, and as Marty said, I called somebody I knew that connected to the floor program and put him on the spot. And said, look, I'll never explain who I talked to, but you got to, and got the story and what happened, situations and stuff like that. We were put in a situation where we really had to do a lot of work. And the more work you do, the more convinced you can. You come into this thing, and if you didn't want to like him after you got done doing the things that we had to do, the information gathering, the time you spent with the young man, the time you spent with his family, visiting his coaches, talking to his coaches, talking to his teammates. That's another thing we did too. We talked to his teammates. And it's crazy because you hear all these stories, and when you confront people with these stories, they say, well, where'd that come from? And I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And you begin to wonder, why are people saying the things they say? But when you're around the young man, you put the tape on, it's undeniable. And as Marty said, you talk about leadership. One of the great leadership stories we heard was about the halftime speech he gave in Alabama. If you guys want to hear a great story, ask their coaches about that. And that's just impressive. The teammates all said this, told us the same story as well. So it's there. And so our job now is going to be as coaches, is we have to develop the young man, and so we can use his talents so he can help this football win games.
Perfect.
Football team win games.
Perfect segue for my follow-up. The ruling today by the NFL is going to allow players such as Cam to come in and get their playbooks, get their mini camps, OTAs, and things right away. How important do you think that is for him to be able to get in here and to get going right away?
Well, it'd be important for all our players and for our coaches as well. We're going to follow the rules as they are right now, and we'll continue to go forward with that. But we will most certainly, do the things that we're permitted to do right now.
Marty, did you get any phone calls, and if you didn't, were you willing to listen to any offers?
We didn't get any calls, and to be honest with you, I didn't expect that. I think that, again, I keep referring to 2002, but we were essentially on the clock and did not get calls. And as I say, we've done, we waited till 8 o'clock, but we had a strong feeling coming in about who was going to impact our football team. So we went up to 8, but the decision was going to be taken.
Ron, was this a tough sell with ownership at all?
Not at all.
Ron, as a former player, can you just tell fans what you think about his physical gifts?
I'm telling you, when you put the tape on, you look at what he does and what he's capable of doing. As a defensive coordinator, he's going to impact the way you approach him as an offensive player. He's going to impact the way people call defenses, and impact the way you prepare for them the following week. I think that was some of the things that I looked at from my perspective as having been a defensive coach. I think that he can pose problems for your opponent. And again, he's going to open some things up. We talked about how he'll impact, Rob Chudzinski play calling and the way he game plans. That was, again, to Mike Shula and especially Rob Chudzinski's credit, one of the things that we talked about was how much of an impact would it have on what you want to do and how you want to do it. And Chud and Mike made a great presentation in terms of the way they can do things. So that's part of the reason why we felt as good as we did, is that our coaches were on board with this right off the bat. And as Marty said, to their credit, for the scouts' credit, they did a tremendous amount of work just to make sure.
Coach, you're settled with the off-field stuff, but just in terms of on the field, of the 18 quarterbacks that have been drafted #1 overall, he has a smaller body of work in terms of major college football. So how did all that?
Well, again, the biggest thing is you talk about the success he's had, though. I mean, you you talk about quarterbacks who drafted first or second, for that matter, and you look at their success rate as in terms of winning and losing. I think that's a huge intangible. I think the players get that. I think our players will get that and understand just how important that is. I think when you look at his ability to run the football, as a ball carrier, not just a guy that's scrambling, I think that impacts the way people will approach him. I think it'll open up things for our running backs in terms of, if the defense did want to crash down the line of scrimmage, he'll make it and they can bootleg outside and make something happen. And if he honors it too much, DeAngelo will cut back on the backside and break it for about a 60-yard gain or something like that. Those are the type of things that he can bring and those intangibles that you can count for in terms of what we can do offensively. With his arm and his arm strength, off a hard play action, off a hard bootleg action or something like that, he'll be able to throw the ball downfield and look for those chunk yardage situations. So I think, that sure, if you want to count him in terms of starting, you talk about 2 years of starting. Sure, it was junior college and it was a step up, but if you look at the way he competed in the SEC and look at the success he had there, so there's a lot of positives as far as that's concerned. And I think that, those far outweigh the other ones. I know the expectations will be great, but I'm trying to make sure everybody understands and the emphasis being, this is a team game. We as a team have to get back to what we're capable of.
Ron, any concerns about going from the offense that he was in at Auburn to what you guys run?
I think there is a little bit, obviously. I mean, I know talking with Chud that there were some things that did concern him, but there were also other things that we could implement. People said how much, one of the questions that was asked during our readings was how much of the offensive playbook is going to be taken out or changed or reduced for him as a rookie quarterback. Chud gave the answer, yeah, a portion of it, but then again, you're going to add another portion because of what he does differently. So even though some things may be reduced, other things will be added. So that's a huge plus as well.
Mark, do you plan to sign a veteran quarterback now to help with this process, or is that part of the plan?
I think that's something we'll discuss after we get through the draft. Right now it's we'll get through the next couple of days and address that.
Coach, looking at Cam, was it his physical abilities that set him apart from everyone else in the draft that made you want to pick him #1 overall?
I think not just his physical ability, but his physical potential. I think, his ability to keep plays alive, sustain plays, elongate plays, make them last, and then create and make things happen. I think that was pretty impressive. I mean, and at some point we had a couple comparisons to what Ben Roethlisberger can do in terms of making a play last. He's hard to bring down. It's hard to get his hands on and get the ball out of his hands. But also there's the element that he can run. And he's not the type of runner as a Michael Vick. And when he does scramble, he's looking to throw the ball downfield. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of plays he made because he extended plays either by running it or throwing it. So it was. I mean, there were some very impressive things that stood out in terms of his abilities.
Just to be clear, so you're saying you think he has a chance to play this year or even to start? I know it's a long way
He's
away.
an opportunity to play, most certainly. I mean, everybody has an opportunity to play.
Marty, you don't make draft picks on the 1 or 7th round to sell tickets. Do you sense just from the brief exposure you had to the crowd out there on the steps that this is an exciting pick and one that will get the fans back excited in this team and kind of make this team relevant in this city again?
Well, I do think it's an exciting pick, and it's a quarterback, and I think that's you drafted a player who basically touches the ball on every play on offense, and people do get excited about quarterbacks. I think they know how how impactful they can be. So, but you're right. I mean, the reasons we drafted him were because we thought that he could come in here and make the most impact on our football.
Was it good to see the fans really excited out there? I mean, it's been a while since we've seen that.
Yeah, it was actually.
Coach,
Yeah, it was good for me to see it.
Coach, you said that Cam will have an opportunity to play. So that means that he will have to compete. He's not going to be just given.
Absolutely. I mean, this game is about competing and about winning. And, what we want to do is give them every opportunity. And just as we do all the other players, give them an opportunity. And it'll make guys better. It really will.
Marty, the history here, when Kerry was drafted, in the first round. By the third game, he was playing. Chris Weinke was drafted here. He started that season. Jimmy got thrown in last year. This kid's the #1 pick in the draft. He's going to be making a lot of money. Isn't early in the season, even if he doesn't win the job, isn't there going to be pressure 2 or 3 games in to say, hey, look, let's get him out there and see what he can do?
You know, there probably will be, Bill, but I think the one thing when you do this job, you know, and I think Ron will agree, is you can't let the pressure, those are all outside influences. What Ron and his coaching staff are going to make the decision that they think will be the best to help us win football games at the time. And I think that's what we do, and I think you train yourself to do that. So, you know, all these questions I think about will he play, when will he play, they're hard to answer. I think that, you know, Ron and his staff and our staff will have a good feeling of, you know, when that is and you know, who's going to start when. But you make those decisions based on what you think is best for the team and what helps you the most to win football games. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I think the bottom line is Cam will play when Cam gets himself ready to play. We're going to do everything we can to give him that opportunity, just as we would any other player. But when he shows us he's ready to play, he'll play. You know, the bottom line is, again, it goes back to the team. The offensive line is doing the job, the running backs are carrying the football, the receivers are doing the things they're supposed to, he'll get his opportunity. I mean, and he understands it, he knows that I'm putting a little bit of challenge out there for him, and I think that's what he thrives on, is the challenge.
What's the plan for mini camps, et cetera, under the current understanding in the memo that the NFL sent?
Well, I mean, right now, and again, you know, we're getting more information as we go, but, you know, right now players can come into the facility tomorrow. We're in the process of setting a schedule for our workout program, and as I say, we'll meet over the weekend and discuss when our mini camps would be if that's how it goes. But right now, there's so much uncertainty that, you know, it's sort of a day at a time.
Marty was asked a similar question, but was there a moment in this process where you said this is our guy, and you know, anyone else you might have been considering, and came to the forefront?
Well, I'll say this, the one thing I try to do, and Marty will tell you, is through the whole process, I started with 8 guys in my mind, after having talked with Marty and Don and the scouts, and then it became 7, then it became 4, and I tried to write that for as long as I could, but, you know, everything just kept pointing back to Cam. And there was a point where I wanted to be 100% sure last weekend, and we did a couple things. You know, we watched every one of his throws, we watched every one of his runs, and then I had an opportunity to visit with him again. And that's when I really felt very, very, very good that this young man is the kind of guy we're looking for.
Marty, in terms of you drafted Jimmy last year, you know, you worried about the message, whatever that said to him.
No, I mean, obviously, you know, and again, and I've said this time and time again, Jimmy's going to be is a good football player, and I believe he's going to play in this league, and it's a critical position. And you know, all you got to do is look back to our recent seasons. You know, you need that position, and I know this Jimmy's going to come in and compete, and he's going to you know, practice as well and as hard as he can, and play as well as hard as he can, and we're going to get everything he's got. And he's a very talented football player.
You guys have had some sleepless nights. You going to sleep well tonight?
I hope so. As there have been, but it's exciting. I mean, and the reason you don't sleep is because it's a very important decision. But you just you know, it's great to have a chance to get a player of the caliber of Cam Newton that can come in and help your football.
Were you able to give the quarterbacks when they came in some version of the playbook to take home, and mostly if you went on?
Well, what we did was, when we went to visit all the quarterbacks, they were sent playbook prior to it, had an opportunity to study some of the things, and then Rob and Mike basically tested on the board. And then we took the playbooks back, and then when they came back out here, put them on the board again to see their recall. It was a process that, you know, several teams have done in the past, and we just followed up on it in terms of what people have done in the past. It was very good. It was very insightful as far as all the things.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks, Ron. Also, we're trying, he's going through the national call, we're trying to get him set for a conference call here shortly.
That's good.